Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Well, hello, everybody. It is not Steve, obviously. It's Becky Brown, and I'm so glad to be here. I'm joined by Dr. Alice Benton and Chris Williams, and we are here to answer your calls, and we're so glad to be able to do this. If you have a question, you can give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We are here for you. We have some calls lined up, and we're excited to get to them. One of the things that Chris and I were talking about before the show started was how there are so many people that are struggling right now. Just a lot of pain. And Chris, you were talking about yesterday at work and the challenges of therapy and helping people who are carrying a lot of pain. But you used a term, what'd you say, emotional upheaval or something like that.
Yeah, it feels like we're at this collective emotional breaking point.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
You know, there is an accumulation of stress. Now, and this is, I think, really important for us to understand, because oftentimes where we hit our breaking points, we look at the event that actually was the proverbial straw on the camel's back and say, oh, if I could have just changed that event. But we don't look at all of the other things underneath that. You know, if we go back to the tipping point, the tipping point is that one drop of water too much that overflows the glass, not looking at all the water that filled it up in the first place.
True.
And that's what I think we're dealing with this accumulated stress in our lives. And it's just really important that we're able to not just look at, oh man, this one thing that happened kind of undid me. No. That can happen, but more likely it's all of the things underneath it.
And we wait till we get past the tipping point to get help.
That's right.
When we're so overwhelmed and beyond the point. But if we can know that another tipping point's always going to come. The next drop of water is always going to come. So do the work now to help prepare yourself and prevent that accumulation of pain.
And Alice, you had said this on a previous show where we have to do more than one thing. So it's the counterbalance, right? We think that it's just the one event that caused the problem when it was actually the buildup of a lot of things. And the same is true for the help, is that it's not going to just take one counselor visit. It's not going to take one group. It's going to take a bunch of things because there will be more tipping points. And we've got this Emotional Freedom Workshop coming up. And Chris, I know you're going to talk about shame and guilt, which is an example of one of those things that fills that water, the proverbial water up, right?
This is a weird thing that shame does. Shame gives us a false sense of control. It gives us a reason, right? So even though it's not a good reason, it gives us a reason. So many things in our lives are happening outside of our control. There could be economic stress, political stress, family stress, health stress. There's so many things that can pile up in this. And we can't find the reason. So what shame does is it whispers in our ear and it says, yeah, this is all happening because there is something defective about you.
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
And so then we take on we take on not just the stressors, but we take on the fault and the responsibility, and it compounds and it puts us in a very, very dangerous place.
Well, and I'm sure many people have that struggle. And, that's why we created the Emotional Freedom Workshop, because we want to give you a place where you can hear some of these important concepts to understand what you're going through. But also we have our breakout groups led by our New Life therapists, and you will be amazed at how important that process is. And, just one day, it's online. You don't have to travel anywhere. Call today, and if you call by August 5th or you register by August 5th, you'll save $100 off the price. But this may be a Saturday that will change the rest of your Saturdays. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live. Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop. I don't know of anybody that wouldn't benefit from emotional freedom. We're all bound or stuck or struggling in some area. What are we going to do there, Chris?
Just really help people get clarity around the places where they're stuck in their life. They sort of circle the same mountain of disappointment over and over and over again. You're going to be able to see that mountain clearly and get to a new place of what we call emotional freedom, which is simply I can feel in the world, build a relationship to it, and know what to do with my experiences.
The New Life Emotional Freedom online workshop is Saturday, August 20th. Steve Arterburn, Chris Williams, and Dr. Jackie McHarris will present information on trauma, depression, codependency, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or register online at newlife.com. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Alice Benton and Chris Williams, and we're having some great information coming your way because we want to help you with so many different things. But right now we are going to take a call, and we're going to start with Jojo, who's calling us from Olympia, Washington, listens online, and you can too anytime at newlife.com. Hi, Jojo. How can we help you today?
Well, hi. Thanks for taking my call. I'm really grateful to have this opportunity today. And I have to say that over the decades, I'm grateful for the different resources that you've offered, the different speakers that you have, and starting with Cloud and Townsend, and false assumptions in the 90s.
Oh, good.
So I've been in the growth process for earnestly for close to 30 years.
Wow.
And
good for you.
I'm a little short-winded because I saw family members driving up, and I thought they were going to be gone today. So I said, "Hey, I'm getting ready to make a answer on the radio, so please give me some space till I'm off the phone." Anyway, so I'm catching my breath. So my husband was nearly killed in 2015, and our life really changed then if it hadn't already. He was in a coma and didn't know if he was going to live, and if he did, how much of him that we used to know would still be there. Praise be to God. If you saw him today, you wouldn't necessarily see any challenges at all, but the executive centers of the brain are where they got the big owies. And so scheduling and planning and things like that are challenging, as well as the pause button on the work ethic, which is shining gold standards. So one of the three things that I want to ask about that all play into honor, the cruise that is in the fall, if there's still availability, we're working on coming up to a 44th wedding anniversary, and I'm determined to be a through hiker and go the distance with our marriage. But it's been challenging, and not just with his health picture, but mine. In 93, my health broke with Lyme disease, and I'm probably one of the most challenging cases that my providers have seen. And if anyone has seen the documentary released in 2009 called Under Our Skin, it is, there was one gal who was worse than I was, and she had grand mal seizures, which I did not have.
Oh, man. Well, Jojo, we need you to get to a question so we can help you. But it sounds like you got a lot of challenges. Yeah.
Thanks for that. So the context is challenging. The cruise, I'd like to be able to go on that cruise, and we've never done something like that. I don't want to be controlling or bossy or anything other than delightful. But I'd like him to go. I've said that I want to go on that. So I think it would help our marriage. And secondly, my dad, who is, my mother died, and he's not speaking to me. Once I stepped out of the family script and spoke about the sexual abuse, I lost my family tree. But even though my mother died, I would still like to be able to try to repair relationship with my dad. But my family tree judged me and left. And the third thing is God gave me a vision of a nonprofit to build hope, for people without resources or not enough resources in crisis or chronic situations. And I feel that I need to take steps forward on that, but I because it's been over 7 years that this is bursting in my bosom. And when I have opportunity to share about it, I feel like a can of shook pop that sprays out on a hot summer day.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot on your heart and your mind. Let's hear from Alice and Chris. Okay. Well, we'll talk. You're welcome.
Jojo, I would guess that with your husband's impairments, that despite the recovery he continues to suffer since the accident, that there's probably a higher need for you to be in charge of some things that you didn't used to have to be in charge of. And it's because his needs are different now. And it might look or feel controlling or bossy, but it might also be necessary for the functioning of the two of you as a couple. Is that somewhat accurate?
Well said. Thank you.
So
exactly.
Who calls you controlling or bossy?
My firstborn and my husband. And interestingly enough, it was what I did not want to have as a Christian wife from my mother and her mother. They were very controlling and great women, but I didn't have a picture of what being a godly wife looked like. I just kept reading Proverbs 31 in the New Testament. So I just prayed that I wouldn't be like them in that way. So I buy planners, and then basically this is what I see is broken. It's an undeveloped ability to ask. I don't ask because I think that would be over-assertive. And I'm seeing in the last week that that's an undeveloped part of me, and I need to show structure and honor at the same time by saying things like, "Would you like to
Jojo, let me jump in.
Please.
I'm going to propose a different problem. So inside of you, Jojo, inside of you, it's just a lot. And I was actually having a conversation with my wife last night where I was just dumping. I was a dump truck because I was holding on to a lot. But inside of people like you and I who like to get a lot of things done in the world, but take on a whole lot and want to be helpful and useful, what happens is that we develop a strong intensity inside of us. And you've already experienced that with Lyme disease. It's sort of like there's a buzz inside of you that has to get out. But know this, where there is intensity, there is not serenity. And what you need is serenity. Okay. And so that means that there has to be a simplicity. It's where actually us therapists got our original moniker, head shrink. It's to take all of the things and make it really simple. And so...
Is that what...
Yeah. So,
really?
But I'm going to go to a particular biblical picture, and it's Mary and Martha. And sometimes we assume that Mary, Jesus commends Mary for choosing better because she chose to be with Jesus. But the Bible doesn't say that. It's a mathematic problem. Jesus goes to Martha and say, "Oh, Martha," this is the Chris Williams version, "you are obsessed and preoccupied with so many things." But Mary chose one thing and chose better. Jesus knows how our brains work. And he understands that one is always greater than many.
I like it.
He's teaching us mathematics. Jojo, you are a loving, great, awesome person. And just think of, and maybe the verse in Psalm 34, seek peace and pursue it. And just pursue one thing today.
All right, I think you got it.
Well, and
I like the simple
well, I like that too, Jojo. That's what we're all about. One of the things that I think would be helpful, and we'll get you connected, is maybe have a coach. Somebody who's going to help you kind of navigate all of these things that you're dealing with right now, or maybe a counselor. I don't know if you've worked with a counselor yet. We're going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Bible, and I want to encourage you on that recovery journey, because even though there are a lot of different things going on, that serenity and that shrink, as you were saying, Chris, we're all going to remember that for a while, can make all the difference in the world as you go forward. And maybe we will see you on that cruise. That would be great. We're going to go to our next call. We're going to talk to Alex, who's calling us from Denver, Colorado, listens on KRKS. We're so glad you called, Alex. How can we help you today?
Hello. I'm just struggling with some anxiety issues in my marriage. Just a little bit of background. I won't go too much into it. I'm a chronic overthinker. My brain doesn't shut off ever. But my wife is pretty outgoing. I'm not really so outgoing. And she likes to go out dancing and doing stuff. And a couple months ago, this was about a 3-4 time a week event. We talked about it, we worked through, we communicated. And so it's much less frequent now, but every time she goes out dancing, it feels like my marriage is going to fall that night. And it's an incredibly painful and intense, situation, so to speak. It's an intense feeling. Like I went to the hospital before I realized what it actually was. And, it's to the point it makes you want to rip your hair out because, like I said, it seems like your world is going to come to an end and it's just a matter of when. And so my wife hasn't done anything to make me not trust her. I want to establish that very quick. She hasn't done anything. She's been nothing short of a blessing. But for some reason, I just can't shake this issue.
Alex, where did infidelity touch you or your family's life in the past?
Prior to meeting my wife, the 3 partners I had, because from 18 to 20, I was cheated on for about 2 years straight.
Boy.
And that was my first experience with infidelity. And then the next person I found out, she was engaged, and then the person after that left me for their ex. And so I was single for 3 years, just trying to repair prior to, meeting my wife and going from there. So and it was fine, and then just came out of the blue.
Alex, history tells you that everyone will be unfaithful to you because before your wife, everyone was unfaithful to you, these other people that you dated. And I want to tell you, there was infidelity in my past as well, in my family of origin. And Alex, when my husband would go out to play music with a buddy, I would sit there in terror that he was going to be unfaithful. He was going to find somebody else, somebody better than me. My husband was also innocent. It was the history that taught me that he was going to choose someone else over me because everyone else had. And so when history is overshadowing the present, it means we need to do resolution work on the past. But I'll also add, there may be a lack of consideration on your wife's part. Meaning, even if she's going out and innocently dancing with her girlfriends, it is so troubling for you that it's not an illegitimate request to ask that she puts a pause on going out dancing, that she goes out with her girlfriends in a different way, but that for a little while you might need that investment in the safety of the relationship for her to choose your heart, even though she's innocent in what she's doing.
That's so true, Alice. Chris, what would you like to offer Alex?
Yeah, to continue the healing process. One of the things that's really difficult about the painful experiences that we have in life that turn into trauma, and that I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but here's my simple definition. It is our unseen, unheard, unhealed pain. And so it needs to be seen, it needs to be heard, and then it needs to be healed. And so and it can be very frustrating because that could take a while. But where it activates itself in the brain is through sensory data, meaning our 5 senses. And our brain in that area does not differentiate time, space, people, whatever. So if it smells like it, if it sounds like it, if it tastes like that, if it looks like that, if it feels like that, it's that. And it only needs one of those that's. And so
true.
So Alex, you're put in this activated hypervigilant state that's really torturous because you want to support your wife in going out and having fun, and I want that for her. To Alice's point, there may be a period of time where she can take a break from that and you guys can get creative and figure out other really enjoyable things to do. But most importantly, this won't work itself out until you go work into that pain and start working through that trauma in your life.
That is so powerful. Alex, does that sound helpful to you, or do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's incredibly helpful. Just, and that's kind of the road I'm at, because I'm not controlling. I'm not going to be like, okay, well, you can't go out, you can't do this, you can't do that. No, that's not how I work. To Alice's point, the request is definitely a different thing than controlling behavior.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm curious about them, though, is what do you do, to work through that pain?
Okay, well, where you can hear the music, Alex, hold on. We'll come back and we'll give you a couple of different options to do that, but we're so glad you called. It is so hard. I love that definition of trauma, Chris, because I think that it resonates so much with what Alex is calling about, but what so many people carry. And they wonder, how is this happening to me? And yet our brains are pretty powerful, and we've experienced some things, some tough things. We're going to talk to Alex and the rest of our calls when we get right back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown with Dr. Alice Benton and Chris Williams, and we are talking to Alex, and we're going to give you a couple of steps forward in this process. So who wants to start, Chris? Alice?
Yeah, I think, Alex, the first thing is that your body isn't safe. And the last thing it wants to find out is that this thing is happening again, right? But I want you to know something, and I want to be very careful here, because this is not to cast your wife in a negative light. It's just to explain a process. Inside of all of us is a magnet. It's a heart magnet. And what it is looking to connect to is that which is safe and secure. Unfortunately, through our adaptation, we confuse familiarity with security. And therefore, even if it's not. And so there's something familiar happening inside of you that is creating the insecurity. And until you start, or as you continue to, I should say, discover what that thing is inside of you that keeps connecting to that which is unsafe. So that in your body is screaming, help me get safe, help me get safe, help me get safe. And so the technique in that is called the technique of trauma therapy. And getting into exploring those different that work, and then having what we call, like, one of the things is a grounding technique. I talked about the 5 senses. And so it's like, what are 5 things that I see? What are 4 things that I hear? What is 3 things I can touch? What are 2 things I can smell? What's 1 thing I can taste? And what that does is it helps your body get back into reality, back into itself, so that it says, I'm safe here right now, regardless of what is happening around me in the world.
Yeah. And, you know, the process too, Alex, is that it would be a couples counseling situation. That's what we talk about in when Mylan and Kay Yurkovich talk about that in How We Love. Healing occurs in relationship. And so that it's not your wife or you, you know, it's not if only Alex would feel better, she could do whatever she wants. It's literally the 2 of you coming together to figure out how to move forward. Alice, do you have anything else that you want to offer Alex before we go?
You do learn to tend to each other's hearts so that you can express your fear at the time and make your need known. And your wife then learns how to respond to your fear and how to be tender with you versus being reactive or defensive. And we all have to move into that maturation process.
Yeah. We're going to send you a copy of How We Love and How We Love the workshop or the workbook as well. And hold on, Alex, and we'll get you connected with a counselor that can help you and your wife move forward. And we're so glad you called today. Right now, we're going to talk to B, who's calling us from Olympia, Washington, listens on KGNW. Hi, B. I'm so glad you called. How can we help you today?
Hi. First of all, I want to say blessings on you and all your staff and all you do. The Lord must smile upon all of you, and may His grace always abide and give you the knowledge you have. And I'd like to say that I was married 7 months, and we found out that he has stage 3 lung cancer. And we've went through radiation so far, and he's pretty weak right now because the radiation has stopped getting in him. It's still there fighting, and we're waiting for the period of time so he can start his chemo. Back in 1970, I had gotten married. In 77, my husband died of cancer. We have 2 wonderful boys. May I quickly tell you my background is I brought up a very strong Catholic, went to Catholic school. I was abused and sexually and physically by my brother, impregnated at 14. My mother handed me over to him time and time again, so I didn't think anything was wrong until I realized it was wrong. And I was taught it was wrong because it came from the cradle on. I met my husband in 1970, my first husband, and we had 2 wonderful boys. And before he went to go be with the Lord. And the wonder of it all was that my mother-in-law and father-in-law prayed for me 3 years prior to my birth, because when they found out they expected a child, they would always get on their knees and pray for him, her, and their spouse and their children.
Wow. So B, you've had a lot of heartache. You've been through so much. How can we help you today, B? What would be a question that we could answer?
The question is that I understand I have made wrong past choices and I have to deal with it. But right now I feel like I am walking God's path. And I know how wonderful and gracious God is through my life's journey, getting to where I am now. But I don't understand why I feel so alone and abandoned.
Yeah.
Well, that they can offer you some insight. You can hear the music, so we might be going to a break. But anything before the break, you guys, that you want to share with B?
I've read having healing is a choice, and they have the affirmations in the back, and that seems to help.
Okay, good. All right. Well, B, we're going to go to a break, and then we're going to hear from Alice and Chris after the break. You know, it is so challenging to have so much heartache that you've been through, and you're a survivor. God's got His hand on your life, even though you have faced so many obstacles. We're going to help you with how to move forward. You know, many times we tell people that there's always hope, and I believe that. And I just think that we have to encourage each other, even in those difficult times, to look for that hope. We'll be right back.
it had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, he just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
The Every Man's Battle Workshop is being held online as a one-day event Saturday, August 6th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of the Life Recovery Bible personal size, the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional, the New Life Journal, a New Life pen and highlighter, and a New Life zipper tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown with Dr. Alice Benton and Chris Williams, and we are answering your questions today. And we are finishing a call with B, who has really had some just unimaginable pain throughout her life. B, we're going to hear from Chris, and then we're going to hear from Alice, and I think we'll be able to get you started in the right direction.
Yeah, B, first and foremost, as I'm hearing your story, there are countless amounts of heartbreak. Beyond the heartbreak, there is terror. I mean, when you're telling me about your childhood growing up and what was happening to you, I mean, that's getting gutted at a soul level. And so the fact that you remain faithful today is nothing less than utterly remarkable. I want the faith of B. That would be fantastic. So I want to assure you, because there's a theme in your relationship with God that I just want to address real quickly. You had mentioned that you're walking well with God right now. And I appreciate that. I like that. However, walking well with God does not necessitate him walking well with us. He walks well with us because that's who he is.
Yes.
And he loves us not because we love him, but because he has the love of an eternal Father, an eternal parent that isn't going to forsake us or leave us. Yet we still deal with the reality here on earth, knowing that it's not heaven. We're praying for heaven to come to earth, but it's not here yet. That there's these moments through our pain of deep sense of abandonment, a deep sense of a loneliness, or that somehow God has left the building. And I mentioned this in a previous show. That is not uncommon. It's incredibly common. You read through the Psalms, and in one psalm you'll have, "You never leave me or forsake me," and then in the next psalm you'll see this, "God, where are you? Why have you taken your face away from me? Why have you abandoned me? So we can see that there is both of these experiences. And what I want to encourage you in your process, and it's really a spiritual direction, is to keep an audacious hope and faith and pursuit of the true unconditional love of God. And I think that's going to be very challenging based on your history, But I also believe that it's going to be very powerful because that's where God's love shows up best and most powerfully. And to know that we don't have to do anything. And he loves us and deeply cares for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Alice, how about you? What would you offer Tippy?
We were all shaking our heads in bewilderment that so much evil has been allowed in your life, and that the slices of good were also taken away from you too quickly with the loss of your first husband and now the illness of your current husband. And there is no good answer for why God has permitted so much to take place in your life. It's not right. It doesn't make sense. You didn't deserve it. And I think we were all sad and touched when one of the first things you said about yourself was your wrong choices. You know you've made wrong choices. Oh, and unfortunately, I think many of us who are brought up in the faith, I also happen to be brought up Catholic, the message can be so strong in many different versions of faith that there is something wrong with us, and it's our fault that bad things happen to us. And certainly we are all imperfect and have sinned and continue to sin. But the Bible promises that there is suffering in this world no matter what. And it doesn't matter how good we are. When I think about Job, the suffering that he was allowed to go through, it doesn't make sense either. But the answer is that we need comfort. And when we don't feel enough of God's comfort, it probably means we don't have enough spiritual sisterhood around us. And we need to increase the sister community so that we can weep with them, that we can be angry with them, that yet again, something's being taken from me. And it's through that process of moaning and wailing with other women around us that we receive God's comfort.
Mm-hmm. And you know what else about that comfort of sisterhood is they also remind you of who you are in Christ. That when you are in those pits, that they will be able to say to you, Jesus loves you in the midst of this. We love you in the midst of this. And they're like Jesus with skin on. We're going to send you a copy of 100 Days of Prayer. And I think it'll get you focused in that right direction. And I think also it would be good for you to work with a counselor to process this grief and process the trauma, because if it hasn't been dealt with, it's really going to be the driver in all of this. We're so glad you called, and we'll be continuing to pray for you. I forgot to mention that yesterday we aired a special episode of Life Recovery Today. It featured videos from Dr. Dave Stoop, who is with Jesus now. And I know so many of our listeners love Dave and miss him and miss his wisdom, but we are so grateful for the opportunity through technology, obviously, and through his written words in his books to continue to learn from Dave. And so you can go to liferecoverytoday.net and you'll be able to see that program. So we just encourage you to keep doing your work. In the meantime, I see that Larry Sonnenberg has joined us in the studio. Larry, what kind of work do you have for us to do?
Oh boy, you really want the list? Well, August 6th, this coming Saturday, is Every Man's Battle online workshop. It's a Zoom thing, one day only. There's no reason, guys, you can't sign up for this. And there's just really not a reason. It's one day. You don't have to travel. You don't have to book a hotel. You don't have to worry about your meals, about missing a day of work. None of that. You can make it to this workshop. And here's what Jake said about a workshop he went to. This workshop is life-changing, a place to open up with brothers who understand my struggle and accept me as I am. My journey on recovery is scary, very scary, and I must trust God on this path and completely give up the process to Him. I feel very challenged, but the tools I acquired at the workshop are an excellent start. The community and bonding with the brotherhood made this workshop a needed wake-up for me. I need brothers for success along with growing relationship with God. The journey's long and scary. God will get me through, praying to save my marriage and keep my kids in my life. So,
wow.
Every time I read a testimony, I want to stop and dissect it and spend about half an hour talking through what all this means and what it could mean to you. But these calls are more important right now, so I'm not going to do that. But just take to heart that this workshop can be life-changing for you. It can mean all the difference in the world.
Well, I'll take the time to do it. But the best gift that we can give the people around us, and the best gift we can do for ourselves, is the hardest gift. And that's to work on our own brokenness and go get the help that we need. And that's what you're going to experience at Every Man's Battle.
Well, I love that he was just outright scared. He said the journey's long and scary. But that shouldn't be the reason you don't sign up.
Yeah.
Because it's a scarier journey to go on the path you're going on and not deal with it.
Truly.
Right, truly. Well, and if you want to join us, you just call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or go online to newlife.com and register and get there, because it can make all the difference. Thanks, Larry.
All right.
We are going to go back to the calls, and we're going to talk to Terry, who's calling us from Modesto, California, listens on Sirius XM. Hi, Terry. How can we help you today?
Hi. Thank you for helping so many people in so many different ways. My story is like the story of the prodigal son, except that I'm not the parent. I'm the sister of my younger brother. And to make a long story short, I'm kind of fearful today as to whether I should proceed and continue helping him or offer to help him financially. Because when my brother first received his diagnosis of cancer and started his treatment, he put himself in a dilemma financially because, he blows his money in so many different ways. And I gave him some advice to save his money for future incidences that may come up with his illness, because, you never know when you're going to need that money instead of spending it the way that you do. So I thought he understood that, and then he just called me up to say they're finally going to target his cancer with radiation, and he's going to be at a facility for 12 days, and he needs to get housing. So I went ahead and offered to, after he asked me, I navigated with a social worker and the sales director of a hotel to schedule him to be able to go at a very discounted rate, like half the price.
Okay.
And then he called me today.
Terry, you can hear the music. We're going to go to a break. Do you have a real quick question so we can think about it?
Yeah. Whether I should help him, offer to continue helping him with money-wise.
Okay. That's an important question. We will be right back after the break, and we'll answer it.
I just feel like I'm at the end of my rope with her.
All of a sudden, my daughter is saying, we're going to pack up and move.
We've been having little disagreements here and there about grandmom's input.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Courageous Parents, Transforming Relationships with Your Adult Sons and Daughters. It's an online workshop Saturday, August the 13th, with Dr. Jim Burns, Dr. Jill Hubbard, and me. I think it will change the way you see your adult children.
That last young adult leaves and you become an empty nest parent. You have to reinvent the way you do life, but it gives you lots of great opportunities to live your best life in the second half.
With insightful teaching and the guidance of a credentialed New Life counselor, this one-day online workshop will provide practical advice and hopeful encouragement for navigating the parent-adult-child relationship. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We're so glad you joined us today, and we are talking to Terry, who's got a situation with her younger brother. And Terry, we were talking at the break, and I think we'll start with Chris, and we'll go from there.
Can I say one more thing very quickly?
Sure you can.
May I? Yeah, I just wanted to say that I want to do the honorable thing, what God would have me do to help my brother, because, he's looking at our actions and how we help other people. But when my brother called and said that's too expensive for me to pay that, I thought you were going to get me free housing, I was totally shocked.
Yeah.
I did not know where to go from that point. So that's what I wanted to say.
All right. Thanks, Terry.
So, Terry, I do not want you to do the honorable thing. I want you to do the wise thing. Right? Because I think that there is this desire inside of you to do what is good. And that's a good thing. The Bible tells us whenever it is with your power, in fact, that verse occurs in the wisdom literature in Proverbs. Whenever it is in your power to do good, do it. Like, don't withhold it. But we got to do the wise thing. You said that your brother is making unwise decisions with his money, correct? So all you're doing is funding unwisdom, right? And then he gets to play the victim, right? And always be in crisis, and you get to play the rescuer and rescue him out of that.
It feels that way, yes.
So you mentioned the prodigal son. This is where the older brother comes in. He wants to do what's good and what's right, but he doesn't believe in the love that is all around him and available to everyone else. And so,
which is my brother.
Good. And what I'm saying is that when resentment hits our heart as a result of us doing good things, that is a clear indication that wisdom has left the building.
I'm actually starting to resent him for putting me into the feelings that I have.
Okay, so I'm going to flip that on you. He didn't put you there. You made decisions that put yourself there. Now, that sounds harsh. I know it does. But because what this does is allow you to take back the wisdom and be like, you know what? I'm not funding an unwise, unhealthy project anymore. You did all of the work to get him discounted, and if that doesn't work for him, he's got to figure that out.
Well, and Chris, what you just said, here's the thing, Terry, that's not who you want to be. And all of a sudden you have gone in this direction that's not who you want to be. You said you wanted to be the honorable, do the honorable thing, and now you're the resentful sister, and it's tough.
Exactly.
Well, Alice, we're going to help you, Terry. Alice, what would you like to add?
I think this is why, Terry, the Bible talks about the kind of giving that God wants us to do, because not all generous giving is good, either for the recipient or for the giver. Because when it keeps us in immaturity, resentment, lack of appreciation, that's not helping anybody in the long run. And so we have to check the kind of giving that we're doing, because if it isn't free, if there isn't a sense of cheerfulness about it, rather there's the resentment that you're recognizing, then it's an unhealthy form of giving that does more harm in the long run than good. Now, your brother is going through cancer treatment, and so maybe this time you decide that I will give an amount because I care about him and I'm worried about what he's going through, but I will limit my giving and I'm going to change my style of giving so that I protect both of us from resentful giving.
The other part of that, too, is you're going to have to grieve, Terry, the fact that he won't do what you want him to do. It seems like the obvious good thing to provide this healthcare facility won't cost him as much. And for him to kick that back at you feels so rude and just hurtful. And so you're going to have to forgive him for that, but then take note, like what Chris and Alice are saying, be wise, decide in your heart what is yours to give. And then you're going to have to move forward knowing that it may not always go well for him, but you can love him anyway. Chris or Alice, you have anything else for Terry before we close?
Well, unfortunately, your brother probably has to experience more pain before he ever chooses to get help for his financial irresponsibility. And allowing him that pain, it doesn't feel loving, but it blesses him in the long run if he chooses to do something different about it. But he has the freedom also to continue to be irresponsible. And it's so hard to watch that and not be able to change it.
That's right.
And just be prepared.
Go ahead, Chris.
Just be prepared when people live in a victimized position. The consummate woe is me with the licensure for irresponsibility. They're always looking for a rescuer. And there's only 3 positions. You can be victim, you can be rescuer, or you can be persecutor. When the rescuer stops rescuing, the victim puts them in a persecutor role. So that's what we're trying to avoid, is the other person thinking that we're bad, and they'll play upon our greatest insecurities. Well, you're selfish and you're greedy and you don't really love me and all. So they get to determine us for us. And that's why, to use the term, we need to take our life back, including the opinions about ourselves.
You know, isn't that the message of recovery?
Totally.
We started talking about, shame and guilt, and how that can drive us. And even in what Terry's talking about, there's a little bit of guilt that's driving her. You know, if a good sister would do this for her brother, especially because he's sick. But then what happens inside of us is that resentment, that bitterness. And, the word specifically says, get rid of all of that. That is not where we're supposed to land. So, I would, encourage you, Terry, we're going to send you a copy of Boundaries, because I think that will be a good way to discern where your yes is yes and your no is no. And, I'd encourage you also to share with somebody else, whether you are in a small group or maybe you join a Life Recovery group just through this process. So you have a band of sisters who can help you in this journey, because, it's a long way in front of you, and we want it to go well. Chris or Alice, we only have like a minute left, and, you both have so much wisdom. What are some parting words that you'd like to offer so that people who may have heard some of these struggles today can get going in the right direction?
I think just for me, seems to be the word of the day. I certainly need more of it in my own life. But in a world where we are bombarded with bombastic, to be redundant, noise of shoulds and supposed to's, threats and reports of destruction, and all of the things that our information age is giving us, where's one thing I can tell us that our information age is not giving us? In the midst of it all, it's not giving us wisdom. And I think that me, and I would invite other people to calm our hearts, to calm our minds, and go back to seeking ancient wisdom.
I agree.
And because wisdom works in the nuance and the confusion of all the decisions that we face.
I agree. Alice, anything before we go?
Well, folks, those of you that are in dire straits, like so many who have called us today, turn to us for help. But for those of you that are not yet in dire straits, call us also. Get the help so that you can be better prepared when tragedy does strike, because it happens to all of us. Don't wait until it gets so bad that you can't stand it anymore. Start the help now.
Yeah, and we're here for you. You can go to newlife.com. You can download the app and carry us with you, or you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we will connect you with some help. Thank you, Alice, and thank you, Chris, and hope you have a great vacation, Chris. Thanks for spending your last day here with us. Thank you, listeners, for listening, and we'll see you next time. God bless you all.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you. But you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.